Welcome to the Blockchain Bootcamp using Corda on Chainstack for decentralized governance. I am Alex, I'm here from Chainstack, and we will have with us a wonderful Ashutosh, developer evangelist at R3. Just as a quick overview of what we're going to do today, we will be together for about 2 hours. We will have a brief introduction to Corda made by Ashutosh. We will then move with a session with Eugene for about 15 minutes. He will give an overview of different protocols, how to pick and how to evaluate each protocols, and how to balance out pros and cons of each one. As you will know, Chainstack is protocol agnostic, and you can decide which one is the best one for you. But today the session will be absolutely Corda centered. After that, we will move on to a hands-on session for a good 70 minutes. It's going to be intense, it's going to be fast-paced, but don't worry, we are all here. There are a number of engineers from Chainstack that will be available on the Gitter lobby and on the chat. After that, we will have a final quiz for 10 minutes. Do take it. Do take the risk and try it out. Some questions are trickier than others, but I'm pretty sure that throughout the session, we will cover all of the topics that will be as part of the quiz. If you successfully pass the quiz, it's an 80% rate that is required. You will be given a nice certificate of achievement as a Chainstack Enterprise Developer for Corda. After that, Q&A and wrap up for 10 minutes. As general house rules, this is an open house. Everyone is very welcome to participate. If you want to write on the chat, by all means do that. If you want to speak, that's also okay. From a technical point of view, this is a Zoom meeting. So everyone is very welcome to participate as much as co-hosts and hosts. Join the Gitter channel, it's active. You would have seen the link on the Eventbrite page. If you don't know where it is, just let me know and I will post the links again on the chat. The team is available for one-to-one support, and there is the full list of resources on the Eventbrite page. Finally, if you can, do share the love for engineering that we will be creating today. We have a few hashtags, of course, the Beetle and the Corda. And if you can tag both Corda Blockchain and Chainstack HQ, that will kind of focus your comments and your impression, your feedback of the event. Awesome. So just to close up the housekeeping, as a private disclaimer, just be aware we are recording this session. This means that then afterwards, the recording will be available across the channels, and you have to be happy with it. I wish, I really hope that you're going to stay on, and that's a fair thing for you as well. On another technical level, when we will be screen sharing the creation of the network and the nodes, it's not 100%, but it may be that your email, when you join, will be visible to the other members. And of course, it will be recorded on the webinar. Please be aware that once you deploy the node and you're part of the network, we cannot do anything about it. At that point in time, decentralization is in action and we have no control, we cannot remove it. As you will have seen, the theme of today is using a CorDapp as an auction in a very special way, and that's for voting, for decentralized voting. At the end of the session today, we will allocate a nominal goodwill gesture from R3 and Chainstack to donate to one of these 3 charities. There is no preference, of course. It's for the crowd to decide which one will be selected. And in a nutshell, but then the team Ake and Ashutosh will get a bit more in detail later on. Each of you will be allocated a budget of $100. I mean, virtual, metaphorical, USD $100. You are able to allocate it to 1, 2, or all of 3 charities. No decimal will be allowed, just integers. You will have about 10 minutes to vote when is the right time. And Chainstack and R3 will give a nominal donation to the charities as a result of your voting. Awesome. If you have not done so already prior to the start of the webinar, please do go through the instructions. to take part. It's very, very important that you try to create a console account and to deploy the node beforehand. We will guide you anyway afterwards, so no worry. We can also guide you step by step. But if you feel confident and you feel a bit adventurous, please do it already. You can see, I will be posting that all the links on the chat as well. Okay, so without further ado, all the housekeeping is done. I'm going to introduce the speakers for today. We have Eugene Asif, the CTO and co-founder of Chainstack, Ashutosh Meher, developer evangelist at A3, A. Konstantinov, knowledge manager here at Chainstack, and then there is me, Alex Albano. I'm the lead for marketing and sales here at Chainstack. First session is with Ashutosh. Ashutosh, I'm going to leave the floor to you. Please do take control, a screen share, and give us a very great introduction to Corda.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alex. Let me just share my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it visible?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, first of all, I would like to thank Chainstack for organizing this. It's sort of like a very different kind of a session which we are doing today. This is where people would really have the opportunity to try and understand how decentralization works, right? So thank you for that. And yeah, since we're talking about Corda, it's really important for us to try and understand how Corda works before you actually get your hands dirty into it, right? So what I'll do is in the next 10 minutes or so, I'll just give you a very brief introduction to Corda, right? And if you are like more interested to learn about it, we do all these kinds of different boot camps, which is more typically very much focused on Corda, on developing an application and understanding how Corda works. So I would encourage you guys to join that. It happens on our YouTube channel. Right. So yeah. So before we start, let's look at what we believe in and why we went ahead and developed Corda. Right. So when you look at doing something, I need to believe in something, right? So that's what, since we're doing DLTs, we believe in DLTs. We believe that it is here and it is here to stay. It's not like something which is like a hype in a hype cycle. It has gone way beyond that, and things are going into production right now. So, and since you all are here, I believe you all also believe in DLT, and we believe that it is here to stay. So since both of us, all of us believe it, so yeah, we are all going to make wonders in the next coming days, right? Well, so little bit of a background. Well, Corda as such is a platform, and R3 is the company which developed it. And the evolution of Corda is not only governed by R3, but it's a cross-industry collaboration of around 400 plus firms, and you can see some big names over there, right? I'll not go into details of how these entire things work. That's quite boring, but I just wanted to show you that we have a big cross-industry collaboration, and that's how we really work. Cross-industry collaboration is in our DNA, right? Well, so let's move on and try and understand how Corda really works, right? Well, Corda is not like any other public blockchain. It's not like you can download Corda and then start doing transactions. We're talking of real business here. We're talking about some real big organizations trying to use blockchain for their use cases, for their solutions, right? So Corda is not a public blockchain. It's more of a permission blockchain. So when you want to join a particular Corda network, you have to go through a particular process of KYC, so that when you join it, people who are in the network already know you. Now, the problem with public blockchains that we saw is the problem of anonymity, right? So people, when you do a transaction in a public blockchain, you don't really know whom you're transacting with. All you know about them is a public key, right? You don't really know whether he's for real. So that's what Corda has tried to solve. Businesses want to do transactions with people who are real, and they want to do transactions with people that they know really exist. So Corda is permissioned, which means when you go through a KYC, you not only are having a public key, but also you have to provide a legal name, which will be available in the Corda network. So whenever a participant looks up to do a transaction with somebody else in the network, they will be actually knowing that they have a legal name for each of these participants, and they can consult them with that legal name. So that's how it really differs from public blockchains. Now, another point around that Corda has given a very peculiar kind of importance is around privacy of transactions. Now, if you are from a public blockchain or you know about it a little bit, you might be aware that there is a big thing around transparency in this public blockchains. Well, that's great. Transparency is great for most use cases in the public domain. But when you think about it from a business sense, right? What about like private data? What about all these data that businesses can't share? What about pricing data, some patent data, right? There are a lot of sensitive information that people just can't put in the blockchain and let everyone see that. So that's where we give very much importance to privacy. So transactions in Corda are only point to point. We don't really do a broadcast. It is point to point communication. So for example, when you do a transaction between Titan Tech and Baytrans Corp, who are two different participants in this Corda network that I show you, then this particular transaction about this vehicle is only known to the parties who are transacting. So here it's two, it might be five, so five people would know about that. But even if there are others in the parties in the Corda network, like you have Acme International, they will not be able to know anything about the transaction, not even that there is that asset which exists in this particular Corda network. But what Corda takes care is if there are a number of participants who know about a particular asset in the network, then Corda makes sure that all those parties always see the exact same copy of the ledger, or the exact same copy of your asset. Now, for this particular workshop, what we are going to do is we are going to have assets and auctions, which we will do later on in the session. But we have probably kept that so that it's visible to everyone. But yeah, to understand the concept of privacy, you will be issued cash, which only you would be able to see. So when you spend something, you would only you would be able to see what's the amount of cash that you are holding. It won't be available with others, because that's a private asset. That's something which you should only know about. Right, but for the purpose of auctions, it's really important for that everybody in the network do have privacy, so do have the transparency on that particular thing, so that you know what's happening with that auction, right? So with this, there is also a concept of notary. Just you could see there, other than the notes, we have a notary. So what a notary does, right? Well, notary here is to prevent double spend. It sort of like looks at the transaction. Now, taking an example of this transaction, right? Acme International here doesn't know that the vehicle has actually been sold. Let's say there was a sale of the vehicle transaction between Titan and Bay. So how does Acme make sure that when this vehicle is actually, Titan actually tries to sell this vehicle to Acme, how does it make sure that he is actually getting a unique vehicle? It's not being actually sold earlier. So for that purpose, notary is something which helps you. It's that point from which all the transactions should go through, and notary has to notarize a transaction. It's sort of like giving you a final say on whether the transaction is real or not, whether the transaction is an attempt to double spend or not. So by this, at this point, many people say that notary, well, it's like a centralized thing. It's seeing everything that's happening. Well, that's not really the case, because first thing is notary is not a single identity. It's a pool of nodes, and these people run a consensus algorithm to come to a conclusion whether a particular transaction should go through or not. And the other point is notary doesn't necessarily see what's happening inside the transaction. What they really see is just the structure of the transaction, sort of like a very high level of what the transaction would look like, rather than just looking into what exactly is being transacted. Now, how that really works is beyond the scope of this session, but you could really come into one of our boot camps to understand more details about this entire concept. Right. And fourth, and the most important thing for you developers here is that is Corda easy to use, right? You might have gone through some other blockchain platforms where you might have to learn new technologies, new sort of protocols, new languages and stuff. But if you are in Corda, well, you don't have to learn anything new. If you're a Java developer, you already know Java. RDBMS is pretty common to developers. Everybody use them. And again, ActiveMQ or normal message brokers and message queues, right? These are something which are used in almost each and every enterprise applications out there. So there you go. It's all easy to use because these are all the technologies which are already there in the market. We have not tried to reinvent the wheel. You can develop your applications using these technologies. Right. So when we say application, what exactly is that? Well, Corda is just the platform, and then you build your applications to do stuff, right? Do wonders, whatever you want to do. So these applications are called CorDapps. That's a short form of Corda Decentralized Application. So you build these CorDapps. They have their own components, and you build them together. That's what you'll not be building it today, but you'll actually be installing it today. So that CorDapp is already built. And we have already provided you with the bootcamp, the GitHub repo, so you can just go in and check what's happening in that CorDapp. And you want to build one, always join us in one of our bootcamps. So what exactly is a CorDapp? Well, it's nothing but a Java jar, and which gets installed on your Corda node, right? And once that is installed on your Corda node, it gives you certain commands which you could run, and then that could run transactions. And then you're using those transactions, you could record facts onto your ledger or update facts onto ledger. You'll see how you do that today in the webinar. Right. Well, that's pretty much a high-level overview of Corda. I don't want to go into too much of details now because this is more of a hands-on session where you get to know how Corda works rather than how to build an application, right? Well, but in any case, you want to connect with us, the best place for you is to join us in the Corda Ledger Slack, which is a community of further close to 9,000 developers now. And then we also have a training site, which you might feel really interesting if you want to start your journey in Corda. Yeah, that's it from my side. I'll hand it over to Alex.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Ashutosh. And I love how you have given such a complete overview of what Corda does and how everyone can get involved. And as Chainstack, we know that there is a lot of interest. There is a lot of, from an enterprise point of view, but from individual developers as well, there is a lot of experimentation that is happening, a lot of maturity that is happening all the way to going to prod with CorDapps and with centralized network built on Corda. So if you want to learn more about Corda, do join the community Corda, and yeah, and get really like your roll up your sleeves and get ready, because today we are going to be doing something quite extraordinary. We're going to try and really deploy a network within this session between 70 minutes or so, and try and deploy the CorDapp for auction with everyone's help. Fantastic. So let's move to the next speaker, Eugene. I would like for you to just go and screen share, but as a brief introduction, Eugene is CTO of Chainstack. He's been for over 10 years leading teams at global level in R&D, and with a background in engineering, cybersecurity, and research. He's been VP of engineering at Acronis, where he led the development of Acronis Active Protection and Acronis Notary. He's also worked and headed the anti-malware team in a leading cybersecurity company, and has been part of the research, security research team at GeoEdge. Awesome. Eugene, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Ashutosh, for a great intro of Corda. So I would like to broaden the perspective a little bit, since we have this amazing crowd of engineers and developers on the call. So I would like to give an idea of like how to choose the right blockchain protocol for your project, why Corda is great in particular for certain use cases also, and how it is different from other protocols in the market. I hope I will not take so much time because we have an amazing practical session ahead with the live deployment of nodes and applications. I see we already have 10 nodes deployed, which is great. Well done, guys, for the preparation. Basically, if you want to start a new blockchain project, you should definitely ask yourself first, like whether you actually need a blockchain for this project, or it's just blockchain project for the sake of the naming, right? So the questions that you might want to ask before you actually start the project is like, can you understand like what's the problem you're solving with decentralization? If you actually need a database for this particular project, because let's say for auction, you definitely need some sort of database. do you need many people to be able to write to this database, or it's okay if a single party is writing to the database? And do all writers trust each other? So if the answers are like on the screen, you might actually need a blockchain. And if you think about our current bootcamp scenario, that all these answers are correct, right? So we don't know each other really much, so we will all write to the same database. We need a database, and we can articulate a problem that we want to develop an auction that is independent and that can be audited independently, right? So it's a great example of a use case that might need a blockchain, and that has a blockchain as a great foundational element for implementation. So now that there are a few sorts of blockchains, right, that you might want to use. And again, there are a couple of questions that you might need to ask yourself before you choose the protocol, like whether you need to control the read and write access to this database, right, and whether you need very efficient transactions that are very quickly happening, and whether you can choose the parties who are transacting, and the transaction is not broadcasted to everyone. So that's what Ashutosh has been mentioning briefly, that in Corda you have truly peer-to-peer transactions, right? So you nodes talk to each other directly, and other nodes do not necessarily need to know, and do not necessarily know what two nodes are talking to each other. So it's a privacy-preserving peer-to-peer communication. So in case if you need these parameters, like this confidentiality, and also the efficiency of transactions, so that you can send them quickly, then you might choose some permissioned protocol like Corda, for instance. The downside of choosing a permission protocol is that you actually need some sort of trust between the members who you allow to your network. So it's also, let's say, applies to our scenario, because we don't know each other personally, all right, but we have certain trust to each other because we are all in this Corda community, and we know R3, we know Chainstack, so we are to some extent trusting each other, but not completely. So that's a good example of a scenario again for the permission blockchain. If you don't need all these qualities, and you need a total sort of anarchy on who can read and write to the database, and whether you can sacrifice some sort of efficiency of transactions moving in the network, then you can use some public network that is 100% auditable, that doesn't need any trust between members. But in the same scenario, it can suffer from low efficiency of transactions. So for instance, if we start this webinar and we do this bootcamp on public Ethereum, especially today, we'll probably be waiting forever until the transactions are mined, and we'll probably spend a lot of money for the fees and so on and so forth. So in this case, choosing Corda for this particular use case, and for instance for this particular bootcamp, is a great idea, because we are in sort of closed environment, and we don't need radical transparency for what's going on today, right? So that's how you approach the choice. So we talked about types of blockchains, right? So like public permissionless or permissioned, and we spoke about some parameters that you need to think about before you choose the protocol to develop on. Then there are all sorts of protocols in the market, and we released in the beginning of the year a blockchain development index, which is basically talking about different protocols and providing a lot of data on their development, on their maturity, on their communities, and so on. So highly recommended to go over it. You can take it's on the main page of chainstack.com. You can take a look, and here you see, for instance, Corda, which gained a lot of traction in recent years, and there was a lot of activity in Corda, and actually it's one of the most popular protocols among developers, and that's actually what we see today, because we have 43 participants in this event, which is late night on Friday, right? So you guys are awesome, and the Corda development community is awesome, as we can see in this report as well that we did. So when you select the protocol, you have a few things to consider, like how do participants reach agreement with each other, right? Is the protocol mature? Does it have backing? Like, doesn't have tools, right? build on it, to deploy the nodes, and to explore the blockchain and so on. How big is the community? Do we have some forums to troubleshoot issues? Do we have open source repositories where you can file your problems? What's the roadmap? What are the features that the protocol development team is working on? Is there a good documentation so that you can kickstart within a few hours and not a few weeks time? And how complicated is the blockchain, right? So like how complicated is the protocol? So a good indication of this would be to just start digging in certain protocol and see whether you can actually build some application within a couple of days or not. If not, then it's probably a very steep learning curve for this protocol. So you might choose something that you can kickstart right away, because definitely you don't start with something that you move in production right away, and you want to deliver something fast. You want to show the value. You want to demonstrate the return on investment to the stakeholders, right? So there are a few protocols. You probably heard about all of them. They are primarily used in the enterprise, but some of them are definitely used for some public scenarios, like Ethereum, for instance. I will not stop here. These are quite well-known protocols. Again, most of them are permissioned on the slide, but Ethereum can be hybrid also. It can be both permissioned and public. So now let's talk a little bit more about the design of the protocol and the differences. So we know that for now that Corda is having a peer-to-peer connectivity and peer-to-peer messaging between nodes, right? So the privacy, as you can see, is the transaction and the access is being provided only to the two nodes that are transacting. And Ethereum, for instance, being a public protocol, everybody sees every transaction, right? So for protocol design, you will see that in Ethereum, every node validates everything. In Corda, you have a special node called Notary, which is doing the transaction verification, that is doing transaction confirmation. Andy, thank you very much for your notations. I think you're helping me to amplify what I'm talking about, right? So last but not least, scalability. You see that all the participants in Corda network, they're transacting through the Notary, and on Ethereum network, actually the nodes are transacting to each other, and the transactions are distributing alongside all the nodes, and all the nodes need to verify the transaction before it's processed, right? So these are some of the details of the protocol design of permissionless protocols and permissioned like Corda. So we talked a little bit about network protocol. How do you choose the protocol? What protocols exist today? How they differentiate in terms of the design, right? Then the most important thing when you chose a protocol is like, okay, how do I start, right? And where do I host my nodes? Like how I operate these nodes, how I manage these nodes, how I build applications on top of these nodes, right? There are some considerations here, like how distributed you want to have your network, like whether you want to start with one node in one location, or 3 nodes in 3 locations, or like 3 nodes in the same location. Again, it depends on the requirements. Do you want this network to be hybrid or completely like in the cloud? Do you want to have like geographically distributed networks, right? So you want to have nodes in location that is close to you because you're developing on these nodes. So these are all sorts of consideration related to the node deployment. So these are basically major pillars that you need to go through before you start any blockchain project. And again, there are a lot of errors and a lot of mistakes that people generally do because they just like dig into certain protocol without learning a bit in advance, like about the details and about the tools that are available on the market in particular, and about the features of a certain protocol, like whether it can scale or whether it can onboard a lot of members, for instance, and so on and so forth, right? So I highly recommend everybody, before you actually start your project, to spend some time to understand the protocol, to understand the ecosystem, to understand the tools available. So what Chainstack is helping here with. So basically, we make it simple to launch and scale networks and applications in decentralized space, right? So why would you use Chainstack today? Because you want to kickstart right away. You want to deploy your nodes and applications in a very timely fashion. So we will show how you can deploy a node and deploy an application in like kind of 5 minutes time. You can definitely reduce the complexity of all the maintenance and all the operations that are related to your node. And running a node is not that easy adventure. It's not for everybody, and usually developers prepare to spend the time on building things rather than operating things and like configuring things and so on. So we take care about all this boring stuff. Again, we help to reduce the need for specialists on the deployment, operations, maintenance, but because we actually provide 100% managed services for you, so that you can basically focus 100% on building things, right? And we can scale for any requirements from one node in one location, as I mentioned before, to hundreds of nodes in different locations, in different clouds, and also on-prem. So who are our like winners? Who are the ambassadors of Chainstack, who are actually getting the best of this platform that we've built for the last couple of years? So there are a few groups of people that that are very happy with having Chainstack as a tool in their arsenal. So one group is enterprise developers who are actually like doing a lot of proof of concepts on different protocols in their companies, and they need one single platform to try experiment with all these protocols and scale to production in the end. The second group is partners, so system integrators, service providers, consultants that are also doing a lot of projects, and they want to have a platform that allows them to experiment with multiple protocols, with multiple networks, do a lot of prototypes and move to production. And last but not least, independent developers who are just like exploring, okay, how do I build a D app? How do I use blockchain? Because we allow very, very easy entry to this environment, and you can actually start developing on the blockchain without being a blockchain developer at all. You don't actually need to know like how blockchain works in details, because we provide you all the documentation, all the tools that enable you to start building right away. As a summary, like what are the considerations for you before you actually choose the platform for blockchain development and deployment? So which protocols this platform supports? What are the deployment options they have? How much does it cost? Like, is it cost efficient for you to use this protocol on this platform or not? And how easy is to set up, right? So we provide managed services for a number of protocols. All that I mentioned are supported, including Corda, High Pledge Fabric, Quorum, Multichain, Ethereum. And we support multiple clouds. So today we support 3 clouds, and you can actually even deploy a multi-cloud, multi-region network right away. Again, in Chainstack, we support AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure, and we also support on-premise deployment of our platform. So we have a couple of cool mentions recently. So we are in Gartner Hype Cycle for blockchain for 2 years in a row already. We have a cool customer story published by Google recently, so I recommend you to go through if you're interested to learn more. So to summarize, Chainstack is the easiest and most cost-effective way to deploy, manage, and scale the infrastructure for your decentralized projects, right? And if you want to try, you can start right away. I know many of you already tried because it was a prerequisite for the bootcamp, which is great. And we see a lot of interest in the last couple of days from Corda community because you guys all are excited about this bootcamp and about the practical part that is going next. So don't want to take more of your time. Super excited to see what's going to happen next. And yeah. Let's continue with the workshop.
That's awesome. Thank you, Eugene. And we had quite a few questions, but I've just squirreled them away for the later Q&A session. Keep them coming, guys. They're not going being ignored. If it's a quick answer, then we're going to type it. But if it's a more of a broader answer that is needed, I'm going to put it away for the Q&A at the end of the session. Okay, I feel super excited. I don't know, but now it gets really interesting. Now it gets, not that it wasn't interesting. There's been, and actually we've had quite a few requests for the PowerPoints shared so far to be then distributed at the end of the meeting. We will do so. We will email everyone with the decks. Glad that you find the content is useful and interesting. That's what we're here for. But I think now it's going to get really to a different level. And I'm going to pass on the torch to Ake. If you want to start the screen sharing and start to give an overview of what is going to happen next, we have a few resources available. I will keep posting them on the chat. You will also have a number of links that are available on the Eventbrite online page. If at any point you need some support, you can also head to our Gitter lobby that we have set up especially for this event. And we have a team of engineers at Chainstack that are on call, as we always are. We're always available and happy to be of support to our developers. Okay, Ake.
All right.
The floor is yours.
Hey everyone. Well, would you, Alex, kind of sort of would like to give an overview of the hypothetical scenario that we're doing today, so that people know what they're voting for in the charities? Sure.
So let me just do that. And it's something that we covered, but I know that many people just joined in between, and maybe that's gonna miss. So we have selected 3 charities, and that's Save the Children, the UN Refugee Agency, and the World Wildlife Fund, the WWF, as 3 charities that joined R3 and Chainstack donation will go to. But before we select which one will receive this nominal donation, we will have to kind of work in a decentralized manner for it. Each one of you will be allocated 100 USD as a budget that you will have to spend as part of an auction. And you can allocate this budget to either 1, 2, or 3 charities. Of course, you cannot exceed the 100 USD dollars, so you have to budget carefully for it. There will not be a decimal allowed, so only whole numbers. And we will open the voting for 10 minutes. But we have to get there. So in order to get there, Ake will guide you step by step of how that actually happens in a decentralized manner, which means that we will have to deploy a node. And prerequisite is that you open a Chainstack account. I've had a few questions about the requirement for a credit card. That's for verification purposes that we are asking for you to do that. As part of this specific webinar, you will have a 14 days trial packet that will come as part of this signing up. You will not be charged anything for 14 days, not usage and not subscription. Just be mindful that if you're not using the node afterwards, after the exercise, please do delete it in case there are issues. But if there are, just let us know and we will support you either way. So you will have to open a Chainstack account using the console link. We will post it again on the chat. And after that, deploy a node. And then I think that's as far as I can go, Ike. I think.
Yes, correct, absolutely. Thank you so much.
That's all right.
This is more than I really wanted. So yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, people. So let's get ourselves dirty with the Corda blockchain, which is pretty cool. And what we can start with is just we can have a look at the network that we have, and we can see that 16 people joined the project, which means 16 people followed the instructions, and 16 people at least had the intention to influence the outcome of the auction that we're going to be doing. And the auction itself is a decentralized Corda application called the CorDapp, developed by Mr. Ashutosh Mayer here, the developer advocate at Corda. And this app is slightly modified to fit our needs. which is for you people to actually interact with the CorDapp and to cast your votes in a way of that once you're allocated an amount of funds, which is 100 theoretical USD dollars, you will be able to vote for any of the 3 of the charities that we are going to auction off today. And the charity that gets the highest amount of vote will sort of win, and the other charities will get a smaller allocation of real money from Chainstack and R3. So to do that, we will those who have deployed the nodes, you'll be using your nodes. We can see there are 10 of those, and if you guys are in the chats, can you do just a quick I'd be interested to know +1 if you installed all the CorDapps, all the required CorDapps from the instructions. And if you did, just do a +1, please. And if you didn't, well, you might attempt and do that right now. But if you didn't, you'll just have to watch and see the brave souls they did, and that those who will influence the outcome. But if you did, and if you follow the instructions, then you should now be able to log in. To run the Corda shell, Corda CLI, and connect to your node deployed with Chainstack. And I'm gonna do just the same thing. I'm gonna be using Docker. You can use the bare Corda shell in Java, or you can use the Docker one, developed put together by Chainstack. And we're going to connect to that, and each node on the Corda network in this setup that we have currently in here represents basically a user or a person, or we would say a legal sort of organization. And you as the node owner, which is just one node representing the node owner, and you as the node owner will be able to vote for any of the entities. However, to get the voting going, before we can even do that, I will have to create the charities that we have, that we're going to be voting for. And each charity, basically, on the blockchain network, on the Corda blockchain network, is going to be this. It's going to be an asset, and then this asset representing a charity. And then this digital asset is going to be put on the auction, and you will be able to vote for that asset by sending some of the funds that you will be a bit later allocated. And you have all the instructions in the workshop bootcamp repository that you've been sent previously, and hopefully you've been able to at least do something with it and test it. And if you haven't, I suggest that you do so later by going to the repository and maybe forking it, doing some modifications to it, and trying to deploy that on Chainstack nodes, doing your version of that, or doing something else. Thanks to Ashutosh. So let's start. Here you can see we're connected to the node that I have deployed with Chainstack, and to basically test that I have the required CorDapps, of which there are 2. I'm gonna type in the command that says flow list, and it's gonna list all the commands, flows and contracts that we have in there. And we can see that as well on the CorDapps tab of my node. We can see there are basically two CorDapps. One is Corda Finance demo CorDapp, which you'll be using to issue and allocate some funds to you, which is $100 USD, digital, theoretical, per each node, and the auction CorDapp, a modified version of the CorDapp that Ashutosh created, and then that will be used for the charities. A quick note that if you're not terribly familiar with Corda, you might need that later if you're looking to get a certificate from Chainstack later and answer the quiz. Each CorDapp basically consists of 3 major components, which are contracts, flows, and contracts also has states in there. So as you can see, you're installing the separately, usually, if you follow the instructions correctly, the flows and the contracts for each CorDapp, and those are put on your node. And then you have in the contract, you have the conditions required to meet for basically smart contract. And for the flow, you have something which is basically a logical business operation, basically an app that needs to do some stuff to fulfill the conditions of the smart contract. So that would be one of the questions one of the answers to the question that people have been asking, if there is difference between a smart contract and any other blockchain network and on Corda. There is, and one of the differences is the flow. So once we connected to the node, we can do the flow list, and it will basically show all the flows that you have on your node, all the apps, and we'll be creating. This is all just me doing right now, preparing for you, and I'm doing that live. We'll be doing, well, number one, we'll be creating an asset for Save the Children. Save the Children as an asset is going to be basically the asset that will be auctioned off later, but for which you'll be able to vote for. And as you can see, I'm just gonna do the first one, basic description. What we do here is we start the asset creation flow that Ashutosh pre-programmed before, and then that was put together in jar file, and you installed it on your node. And your nodes will be able to interact with those. Then we do the description, and then there is an image URL where you can put a logo or anything for that, but we will not be using this as much today as we're running all the commands in the console, but Ashutosh has a web app for this that you can fork and use later, or just basically try one of his blog posts. So let's create an asset. As you can see here, we created an asset, and there is a transaction for that, and the asset has been put on ledger there in the vault, and we can run the vault query. And vault is basically, if you're not again terribly familiar with Corda, vault is where a node keeps all the extracts from the ledger, from the Corda ledger, that all the data that is relevant to the node owner. So as I created this on the network, the asset, I can query for this asset, as you can see, asset here, and check if it's in the vault. And you guys can do the same operation there and check if there is an asset somewhere in there on your vault, if it's relevant to you as a node owner, which it should be. And then we're going to run the same operation and do the create an asset for the UN Refugee Agency. Exactly the same thing. Done. And then the third one for the Wildlife Foundation. Done as well. We can do the query again and check all the 3 assets. And at this point, so basically we have all the assets created. As you can see, Save the Children, the UN Refugee Agency Fund, and the Wildlife Foundation. All of them have been created. They are on the ledger. The transaction has been signed. And each of these assets now has an ID which we're going to use. Well, I'm going to use doing this preparatory work live here for you to be able to vote on later. I'm going to use the IDs to just start the auction. start the auction off. Well, because when voting, when an asset is an asset, it's a thing that you need to do something with. And to do something with it, you need to auction it off first, and then you'll be able to vote this for the item in the state of being auctioned off. So yeah, this, sorry, let me do that again, just to make sure. Yes, we are going to start with the, we're going to do it in the same order that we did before, and Save the Children was the first one. We're going to start with that. What I'm going to do here is put the, I'm using the idea of the asset that's called Save the Children, and I'm creating the auction flow. And I'm putting the starting price here as $1. And I'm using the idea of the auction item, Save the Children, and I'm setting the bid deadline for the next day just to give us some buffer time, but basically you guys will have around 10 minutes to, hypothetically, to vote on or until you're run out of funds. So we're doing that. And
hey, Nick, I think people are asking about
okay.
About they're not able to see this properly, so maybe just zoom in a little bit. And
okay, sorry about that.
Other thing that probably they are getting confused is, guys, you don't have to run these steps. These are something which is sort of like the setup for the workshop today. So what we are going to do today is we're going to have all these assets created, which are basically for all the different auctions which we talked about, right? So once we have this, we'll then create the auctions, and then you'll be able to see them on your vaults that will be shared with each of you. And once we have these things created, you can then bid on them. So whichever gets the highest bid will, like Alex said in the beginning, will be giving certain charities to these that particular organization. So that's what it is. You don't have to run this, but you'll bid on them using the bid flow, which will come to it later on. Yeah, thanks. Like you can just continue.
Yes, correct. If you guys, sorry, I'm not sure how to put that in the chat, but you can already go and try to run this command, checking for the existing auction items and IDs, since we've already ran the first one, and just to sort of have some sort of interaction with what is going on there. So please do that. Okay, I think I have some, sure. I think my terminal is freezing up. Sorry. Okay, let me try running this again. Let's first check the auction state. Okay, one was created, and the idea is we have the auction idea for Save the Children Foundation. As Ashutosh correctly said, this is just some preparatory work, but we decided to do that live so that you guys will be able to, to sort of see how it all works, how it's happening. Now I'm gonna run the query again to see the idea of the second asset that we created, which is UN agency, which is this UN Refugee Agency, and we're going to get the idea of this asset and create an auction for that as well. And I'm gonna, so that you guys can differentiate quickly initially, I'm gonna put the starting price for that at 2. So we have one USD starting price for Save the Children, and we have 2 for the UN agency. And then I'm gonna do get the third ID for the you want me to zoom even further? Hope you guys can see it better now. For some reason, my Zoom, my terminal is freezing up a bit. Not sure if it likes in zoomed in that much.
Hey, can you share the list of commands in the notepad on the chat?
Well, these are the command. Well, I can, but these are the commands of sort of administrative preparatory work, which is I'm preparing the auctions for you guys to be able to work with later.
So we don't have to follow these commands?
No, not yet, but I'm gonna run one last one, and then you'll be able to start voting for those.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so I'm going to auction off the third item, which should be the second, let me write it should be the Wildlife Foundation, for which you can vote as well if you like animals more than you do feel about people. We're gonna get the idea of this item again, exactly the same thing, and we're going to put it on the auction as well. And for easy identification, again, I'm going to make the start price of the bids at $3. So one is Save the Children, two is the Refugee Agency, and three is Wildlife Foundation. And now I'm going to issue the $100 to each of the participants on the network, and all of you guys who have both the CorDapps installed in there correctly and everything is working, which you can find out by either going to the UI of Chainstack or doing the flow list command. So it should be issued, and you can check if you've been issued the money by running this command with me.
Ike, while you're there, I've been following a little bit what the chat. I know that you're very busy.
Sorry, I'm not sure how to put the chat back. Yeah.
No, it's okay. I am just gonna take a little bit of a breather, because I think everyone has got a few questions here and there, and it seems that. So the overall, if I got it, and I'm not a developer, so I'm going to be very ground questions on this. So this was all the setup that was needed for the auction, right? So as participants in the auction, they don't need to do any of this. It's for you to explain what has happened right beforehand. Because I can see that a few people were saying, oh, we cannot follow, or it's really fast paced. But that's just for you to show them how the setup, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and we will be able to show them or to share with them a notepad and the steps that you followed afterwards. Is it something that we could do?
Yes, absolutely. I can update the README file of the Bootcamp auction CorDapp. I just didn't want to put the preparatory steps in there before the Bootcamp not to confuse people with that.
Definitely. So for everyone, so in addition to in addition to the slides that we saw earlier, then to the follow-up email, we will also add all of this material, and you can go. By the way, there is a recording here, so if at any point it was too fast-paced or you skipped any of the steps, you can of course watch this video again, especially if then we are going to provide you with the entire script for you to follow. So Ek, where are we now? So what is going on in layman terms so that I can understand?
So everything has been prepared and you guys can basically start voting. However, to do that, there is an easy way and there is a little bit, well, a blockchainier way. So the blockchainier way is all of the auctions are running now, they're all active, and to be able to vote for an auction, you'll need to run a specific command, and you'll need to put in there the ID of the auction item that you're voting for. Because you have all been issued the money that you can use to set to the bid. And you can do that by using this command, which is in the, again, in the repository, or I'm gonna paste it in the chats. If once I figure out how to do that, I'm really sorry, I'm a bit lost in here. Alex, can you help me out, please? Where is the chat?
Sure. If you.
Really sorry.
You need to post on the chat. I think.
Yeah, I want to post a comment on the chat, or you guys can do that. You can go to bidding on in the README
on the
file.
GitHub repo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let me do that. 1 second.
You can go to the, well, all of you who are online can
so
go
that's
to
on the. I'm going to post for everyone's benefit again the link to the GitHub repo.
Yes.
Right. And it's on the bidding section of the
yes,
GitHub
and the instructions
repo.
are pretty good. So basically, this is what you need to run to bid an amount of the $100 that you've been issued. For example, you can do 20. You can do 20 to Save the Children Foundation. To do that, you need to basically first figure out the idea of the Save the Children Foundation. And the Save the Children Foundation, well, to do that, you run the vault query. And in the vault query, you find the idea of the auction item. That's auctioning off the asset called the Save the Children Foundation. And if you remember, we, for easier identification for Save the Children Foundation, we set the price of $1 US, the starting price, which is what you do when you run this. Where's that? Which is what you do when you run this command, run vault query contract state type, basically auction state. So you pull off the information of your node that's in your vault about the state of the auctions that are currently happening on the Corda network. And you, in there, you will see that there is 3 auctions happening. One auction has the starting price of an item in there, which is 1. The other one has $2 US, and the third one has 3 for easier identification again. And if you want to vote for Save the Children, you do the auction ID, find the auction ID item, and you basically put it for where the auction ID is in here. And here you put an amount. And there is an example. For example, you do, let me just copy the for you. This is the idea of the item that is Save the Children Foundation. And the exact bidding flow would be this, except for the idea you're gonna be, for example, if you want to send 20 to that, you'll be using the idea of the Save the Children Foundation. And this is the command you need to run. And yeah, if you want to do the refugees one, it has the base price of $2, and this is the auction ID. This is the auction ID you need to use. You just basically swap the Save the Children with the refugee ones, and you use whatever amount you want to put in there. It does not exceed $100 US, and you do that. How are you guys doing in there?
Yeah, I think we can take another breather. Thomas,
Okay.
I can see that you have been typing away quite a few questions.
Okay.
Hey, I have 2 questions, if you
Okay.
can help. So first, I'd have to install the CorDapp first to see this, right?
Absolutely. Which is, yes.
Which is in the GitHub repo?
Yes.
Okay.
If you want to,
sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Another question. So I see bidders on the list that you just shared.
Yes.
Are those, like, does that represent us as member of the consortium?
Well, as members of the consortium, yes.
So each bidder represents one of us.
Sorry?
On the list in your terminal, you have bidders.
Yes, the bidders should represent one of you guys, correct?
I see.
Yeah, and if you guys want a breather, you want also, like, if you want to do some visual stuff, like explore the Corda network of which you're a part of currently, there in the GitHub instructions, again, there is complete instructions on how to run a Corda node explorer, which I'm going to show to you, and just will basically check what's happening on the network. And it's super easy. Corda did an amazing job of doing an explorer, which is very different from what a lot of people of public blockchains are used to, but it's great. You basically put all the details that you have nicely laid out in the Chainstack UI for you.
Sorry, can I interrupt again? Can you please quickly show me how you install CorDapp on the interface?
Okay. So yeah, to install the CorDapp, you go to well, let's do this. First, you have a project. Then you go down the project, you have a network, a Corda network of which you are a part of. In there, you go to your node. In the node, you have all the connection details that you need to connect to your node. And then you have the CorDapp's tab in there. You go there, you do install CorDapp, and you basically select the CorDapp that you want to install, which consists of a workflow and a contract. And again, you do that, but I have all of them installed. And again, as it says in the instructions, guys, please do not forget to, when you're going to connect to your node, if you haven't done so yet, to put all of the 4 components of the two CorDapps in the folder that you're going to mount to when connecting to the node. So basically, you need to do this. Number 4, number 7.
Okay, let's take a bit of a breather. I know that we have a bit of time. Can we go back to the console, to the Chainstack console? So is everyone okay? So I know that quite a few people have done it in advance, so that's why to an extent this has been quite fast. But let's give everyone the chance to do it even live, right? So the assumption is that everyone has opened a console account, and then that they have. Can you show just one more time, Ake, what they actually need to do to get to the point where we are now? They would have to, after they have opened their account.
Yeah,
they would have to have accepted the project invitation that we sent yesterday, right?
Yes, correct. And then they would need to add the node in there.
Okay.
Basically, just click the button, name your node, whatever. Use the cloud provider that you want, and click add node, and you're gonna have the node deployed. It's gonna take a few minutes, which isn't a lot at all for a Corda node.
Okay.
Super fast. Yeah.
That's great. So that's what it looks like on Chainstack to deploy a node. It's literally a question of just a few clicks. And
right,
then,
that's what 10 people did.
Okay, yep. And then the next step is to install the CorDapp, right? And those are the instructions that you have seen in the joining instructions that were sent yesterday. You will also see them on the Eventbrite page. But if you see that still something is not clear, do reach out. Thomas, who is one of our most active engineers, as Corda goes, is here. Ashutosh is here. Eugene is also hands-on. I'm not that hands-on as a developer, but I can try my best to guide you guys on the execution of the steps for this workshop as well. Okay.
Right, and the CorDapps.
Oh, and Satish, sorry, I shouldn't forget. Satish is also here, also engineer of
Right.
Chainstack. Go ahead.
And the CorDapps that you're installing, if you haven't installed yet, are basically the one of them, the auction CorDapp, slightly modified version. What Ashutosh did to fit our scenario. And again, the CorDapp consists of a contract and a workflow. And normally you would need to build the CorDapp, you would need to install all the dependencies and build that, but we have already done that for you. Just put it on the release tab. You can use version 1.1. And the contract and workflow, just click them to download each of them. And then you'll put that on the each of them on the Chainstack node. Okay.
So as a big recap, what you showed us before on the console, on the notepad, there was all the setup that Ashutosh and yourself worked together to prepare for this.
Correct.
But in real terms, as participants, these are the simple steps that you need to do to take part in an auction using a CorDapp on Chainstack. So open the Chainstack account, accept the invitation that you have received for the projects. That will add you onto an organization. Go add a node, select whichever server provider, cloud provider you prefer. And after that, you would have to just run a CorDapp as instructed in the joining instruction. I hope that has given a bit of a breather to everyone. If you can let us know in the chat if all is well, and we can take the next steps, or if we want to go back and re-show some of the things that we've done so far, do let us know. The team is here.
Yes,
so
and for a bit of fun, guys, if you want to do something super easy, you can follow the instructions and just install Corda Node Explorer, connect to your node, and in the settings put the path to your CorDapp folder, where you have the two CorDapp represented by 4 files in there, and just see the transactions happening on the network and what is there on the network, which is pretty cool, right? You have the notary, the peers, you can see your own identity in there. It's just for a bit of a cool break from doing everything in the command line. So you can do that. It's super easy too. You can see the vault and everything, and the states and the transactions.
Okay, awesome. I'm hearing a comment here to say that someone is still unable to run the Docker image for Corda running on a Mac. Do you have any guidance on that?
Enable as in, is there an error message or what's happening? Or
Alfie,
is it not downloading the image locally?
I think Alfie and Andy, I can see you on the chat that you're getting a few errors message. If you give us more details, either here on Gitter, Thomas and Satish and Eugene can step in.
Sorry, I was like on a mute and I was talking. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. So, okay, basically I'm getting this error where, the container is not being able to install itself. So I tried giving the bash support for all the directories where I'm running the Corda app in my file system, but I'm still having some issues around that. So I'm just not able to get that node connect. I use the online node credentials with the username, user password, port, and everything as part of that string, which I'm running on the Docker, but I'm still not able to get that thing connected. Okay. But I'm presuming that's once if I get that connected, I think I'm presuming everything else will smoothly sail.
Yeah, the best would be to jump on Gitter, and guys would be able to help. Yeah, because well, it's usually there is just some small thing missing, like not following not copying the instructions correctly of the docs or something like that. Because we have good instructions in there, and I'm always Even though I wrote those instructions, I'm always using them.
Sure.
Because it's
let's do it offline. Maybe let you continue the session. I'll try and connect on the Corda Slack channel maybe, and then try and get some help there.
Yeah, the best way would be to jump on Chainstack Gitter, and people will help there.
Okay, Gitter, perfect. I got Gitter. Cool. Thanks. Okay.
Yeah, let's see how we're doing in there. So we have the auction running, and we have 0 total bids so far for any of the for any of the items. The most fun way would be is to see if there is any node at all that has both the CorDapps running, the nodes running, and was able to connect to their node using Corda shell CLI. Which there isn't a lot of people, right? We only have 10 people. So of all those 10 people, if you guys are on the call, please let us know.
Hey, quick question. So there's this participant that don't see the states or the states metadata. Could it be that when you initiate the command, he wasn't part of the consortium, so he didn't get the credits or whatever that you were doing the commands previously?
Yeah, it could definitely be that. I would let Ashutosh to further explain on that, just to be sure.
Yeah, that's perfectly right. I mean, if you're not part of the consortium when that particular command was run, which means we are not able to know that you exist in the consortium. So that transaction would not have given you the updates. So yeah, you're that particular guy.
Yeah, but I guess I can only see one node that might have joined a bit later than that, which is this one.
Yeah.
I think. Where's your node, Thomas?
Can you take a look at CorDapp CRP?
So let's do a poll. I mean, how many of you are able to really see things like the cache and the other thing, the auction, and how many? If you're able to see, just type yes, and if you're not able to see, just type no.
Hey, I'm reading out some of the comments that I'm seeing here.
Okay.
So there are a few no, and there is also was able to connect to node using shell and Corda Explorer, but Vault query isn't working.
Vault query isn't working as in what's there an error message? Yeah, what the issue is.
Yeah.
And which of the Vault queries exactly? Because we have a few, we have the asset, the auction state.
See that they don't
the
have
cache state. This
one guy who has just pasted the results, and I see that he doesn't have anything in the vault somehow. Perhaps because maybe
joined later.
It was not up or something. The node wasn't up, or just another thing is everyone have actually installed the CorDapps, right? Is there a way we can know that?
Well, that is a good question. Nodes belong to people, and people should just tell us they have been able or to install those or not. Because all we can see for each node in the Chainstack UI is their legal name, so that we can interact with them as a node. We have no access there to their CorDapps or like connection to them.
So I can see that it's Rajapandyan mentioning that his node has been running since the start of the session.
Yes, the CorDapps were the CorDapps installed as well. That's the question.
Okay. Rajapandian, feel free to reach out with more details. Okay, so good news. We've got a court shell running now for Alfie. That's great.
I guess the problem, I think we had a problem around the flow not being able to complete and we have to kill it. So that's perhaps because either some of the node in our network was down or something. Maybe that might have caused the issue where all the updates were not getting propagated properly. Could be one of the issue.
Okay. Well, I guess we can. I wonder, should we start a new auction for each of those?
Yeah, we can create a new auction. Doesn't matter.
But use the same auction item, right? Because I think the assets were correct.
No, we can create a new auction, just leave it as duplicate, doesn't matter. But most of the people have not got the auction. So we can always
let's make those like 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
And the auction items, the ID should be the same, right? Because the assets were created correct, I think.
Yeah, let's just try to run one of them and see if people are getting.
Yeah, let's do that. I wonder why
just try and check if everything is up.
I wonder why it's getting stuck in there.
That's perhaps because it's not able to communicate with some node.
Okay.
It's there in the network, but it's not able to communicate. So it has gone till the notary and it's not able to communicate with some node. That's at the very end moment. How many participants do we have?
We have 10.
There is one down, you see, I guess.
Well, it's in maintenance because this person is trying to install the CorDapp.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait for him, or either we'll have to remove him from the consortium.
Okay.
I can hear another comment here. Flow list is running slow.
Oh.
Okay.
I like because
slow is in seconds or
yeah, the more details you give us on the chat, the better it is for the team on helping out. And
but
also,
it's good if it's running. I mean, there could be some latency issues, for example.
Okay, I think that's been resolved. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There is a general question while we wait everyone to catch up for Ashutosh. And how are the transactions being shared with all parties? Are all the parties passed as participants?
Yeah, for this particular case, we have added everyone as participants to the state. So we have actually got a copy of the network map and added all the participants available. So that's why we're getting these issues, right? There's some node which is down.
I see. So what's next? Are we waiting for that node to come up, or what?
We were waiting for this.
I've seen this happen before, and that's always the joy of decentralization. There is only so much that we have control over, and there is only, especially if you're doing it live, there is always some surprises on the deployment.
There is always, because when I had everything under control, it worked beautifully.
Yeah, exactly. That's always Murphy's Law is always there. So I'm hearing from Mohammed, start bit flow, bit amount, return error.
Yeah. Do you see these auctions and stuff in your vault, Mohammed?
And guys, feel free to unmute yourselves and speak
Mohammed,
to the team.
Can you run this?
If you.
So is there a way, I think, can we get this Rio or whichever node that is? Can we get that out of the consortium?
Oh, it's running. Look.
Okay, that's great.
So I should. Oh, okay, all of them should be running. Ashutosh, what's the best way to proceed? To kill off and restart the flow, or just wait?
And it should generally complete on its own.
Another comment from
Vault query has to just run vault query, the same command on the GitHub.
Yes. Well, this will be exactly the same command. No change to that. Just to see if you have anything in your vault.
Yeah, it's kind of giving me some error. Unknown source. could not parse a command, cannot construct instance of java.lang, problem net.coda.finance contracts.asset. So then
which probably means, I'm sorry, Alfie, is it? Right?
Yes, that's Alfie.
Yeah. Did you, in the instructions, there is a step where you need to put all the four jar files, which represent two CorDapps, in the folder.
There were two jar files and there were two text files. So you want me to put the text files also in that?
I'm sorry, no, there should be 4 jar files in total. Let me show that.
There are only 2 jar files. One was the flow file. Other one was the one second. One was the flow file. Other one was the app file, I think.
So there should be number 1. It's just this
auction
is one
workflow, auction contract, both 1.1 jars.
Yeah, auction workflow, yes, and auction contract. And the other one is let me go back to the README. And the other 2 files are Corda Finance contract from step 3, Corda Finance workflow.
Okay, where do I get them?
You just click the link in the.
Got it.
Yeah, download from the CorDapp.
Yeah.
May I ask a question? Hi guys.
Sure, go ahead.
So as I asked before, like all the nodes are included as participants for this particular CorDapp. So as we have got a scenario right now that one of the node was down because of which the flow wasn't completed. It was killed automatically. It got terminated. So isn't it like the network map updates itself if a node is down, so that it doesn't consider it as a participant of the transaction?
No, it doesn't work that way. So network map will not update when you have a node which is down. Generally, nodes doesn't go down.
I thought as if we get DHCP where we get an IP address allocated for us temporarily, and after we disconnect, the IP address will be gone from the table. So I thought if a node will be down, wouldn't it the network map get update itself saying that this node is no more in the network?
No. So you have to remove that identity from you. That's where the CNM and stuff comes into picture. So the network manager and all. So you can't just remove someone from the network map. That means that they are out of the consortium. They might be, but generally they don't go down. There is this HA and all, which will prevent them from going down. But yeah, this is Corda open source, and then Corda Enterprise has those features. But generally, you don't have nodes going down. Another point around having these stuck is this sort of like a different use case which we are trying out so that everybody get a chance to participate. But generally, it's not like you have all the networks. There is no broadcast as such in Corda, right? So it's generally mostly 2 to 3 participants, and then that's how things work. So if you're doing business and there is someone with the other node which is not up, then you'll have to have them to come up. So you just start this flow. So generally you don't use the terminal. You just start this flow using a system, right? Which is basically more like a UI of sorts. So you just start that flow and that will remain in the background, and then you can go ahead and start another flows as well. And that will be serviced.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, how are we doing? I know that time-wise, we are at 11:30. We're still half an hour to go. As far as the event, we do have a few minutes for the quiz, something that we can also do afterwards. So I think priority will always be to continue and focus on the coding and development. Just to understand for the rest of the participants, I think for the majority, we are all up to speed and we do have the 10 nodes. Is it time for the next stage, Ake?
Well, let me, Ashutosh, should I just try it again, right? Because we have all the nodes running. Let me just refresh. Let me try the auction again. Hopefully it will not hang on there.
Is there a way these participants can play around with the node configurations or something so that one of them becomes unreachable? So one issue probably we are not able to reach one of them is because they have incorrect address in the network map, perhaps.
Oh, really? No, there is. We don't have that out of the box as a feature.
So in layman,
same issue.
So, sorry, Akin. In layman terms, for a non-technical person like me, what is going on? I'm a bit lost.
We're not able to send the updates to the node because I think it's unreachable.
And we don't know who the actor is.
If anyone is, I think
got those 2 jars updated. I mean, I'm still running the same run query, but still give me the same error. So do I have to just go out of the shell and come back?
Yes. Yeah, you need to. Did you restart the shell?
No, I did not.
Yeah, you should.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
And Andy is still not able to connect or run the node. Andy, if you can give us more details, maybe Thomas or Satish can go to Andy's help to understand how come he's not being able to connect the node. And Sankit is asking, how many notaries are there?
On the network, there is one single notary.
Okay. And I have a question from Pranav. Is it fine that I installed auction workflows and contracts and then the finance workflow and contracts? Is that order fine?
Yeah, this is a good order, yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you have them all on the CorDapp tab, if you have them all green installed, everything is fine.
Okay, awesome. And I have one more question from Luis. Is asking on settings for Corda Explorer, which is the path to the CorDapp directory?
The path to the CorDapp directory on the settings page, you need to, well, basically where you have your the CorDapps directory. The CorDapps directory, you can name it anything. You can name it apps or Corda or CorDapp or whatever. And whenever you put it on your hard disk drive, make sure you have the correct path, well, the path to the folder, and you put it in here. But what's important is that you have in there exactly the same jar files for the CorDapps that you have installed on your node. They should be in there locally so that you can interact with them through your Corda shell.
Okay. I hope, Luis, that answered the questions, but if not, just type again and we will get more granular on that. Okay. How are we doing, Ake and Ashutosh? I know that we have developed and bespoke this CorDapp specifically for this workshop. So it was bound to be a big experiment. And that's, I think, a spirit of, there is no cutting edge engineering unless sometimes it's bleeding edge, right? we get a little bit of a paper cut on trying and running something that has not been tested before, at least with this scale.
Okay, I think I have an RPC failed error when I rerun the shell.
Okay. You could be the culprit, but I'm not sure what's your node.
My node is Alfie_node.
Okay, makes sense, right? Well, you can try rerunning again and seeing that you can connect to your node. Maybe it was maybe the endpoint might have been temporarily unavailable.
Okay.
Just to be sure, because you were able to connect to it before, right?
Yeah, though I'm able to connect to the node, but when I run the run vault, that's the command.
Ah, you get the RPC file when you run the vault?
Yeah. I'm able to connect to the node. I'm not able to connect the run vault business.
Okay. Ashutosh, any ideas on the RPC failure when trying to query the node, the vault?
Are you sure you have all the CorDapps installed?
Oh yes, I have. I've installed all the 4 jars on my CorDapp folder. Then I've.
Can you just paste what is the command that you're trying to run?
Run vault query contract states type colon, which is net.corda.finance contracts.asset.cash $state. Yeah. That's the same thing there in the GitHub.
And you have both the finance work and workflows installed?
Yes, all 4 jars I have.
Oh, we both locally and on the node.
Oh, gracious God.
Yeah. On the node, you need to put them on the node as well.
Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I think I troubled.
No worries. Yeah, this is cool. And now you know this is going to go down twice anyway to install because you need to.
Hey, can we have a look at how it should look like on the interface if I have all 4 CorDapps installed? How should the interface look like?
Yes, this is what it should look like. You're gonna have 2 finance demos. As you can see, the type 1 is type contract, the other one is type workflow. And you have 2 auction CorDapps. 4 in total, same should be in your local folder called CorDapps.
So this is where all the logic goes, right? Like how my code works, or how does we communicate node to node. This is what we use, the CorDapps.
Yes, absolutely. Ashutosh might want to give a more detailed overview of what the flow and the contract is and what the state is.
Yeah. So basically, you have 3 different components of a CorDapp which we generally write, right? The first thing is the state, right? The state is what your asset is. It represents your asset. So for our example, it could be cash, or it could be our auction thing, which we are doing today. That's your asset. And then we have contracts, which governs the evolution of assets. So these assets are in your ledger, and then you want to update those. You want to send out proposals in the form of transactions to update some of the facts in those states, right? So these updates will have certain business rules, and these business rules are coded as part of the contracts. And finally, you have the flows. So generally, the state and contracts are usually combined into a single jar called the contract jar, and then finally, we have the flows, which is what your workflows are. It defines how your, so if you have something, so any business process, right, there is certain workflow. So to model those kind of workflows, we use the flows. That's what flows does. And that they are part of another jar, which is your flows jar.
I have another question. If I were to update the flow between business to business, how do I do that?
So you want to update the flow in terms of the code?
Yeah, I want to add more functionalities. What is the, how should I do it?
Is an entire area of thing around how do you upgrade your CorDapps, right? So, so it's pretty much a vast topic to cover at this point of time, but yeah, it's all possible.
And it's one of the cool features of the, well, basically private permission blockchains, and specifically of Corda, that you can upgrade the contracts, right?
Hey, Egg, I saw service nodes on the interface. What do they mean?
Right, super good question. So what we have, what we have is the peer nodes, and I can see Alfin is installed in the CorDapps, which is pretty cool. And you can see the node is down, being restarted for the CorDapp to get installed. And on the storage nodes, we have the notary running for this network to notarize transactions. And we have the network map service, something that Ashutosh explained previously, which is basically a catalog of all the peer nodes that we have in here, so that the network knows about all of them.
I think we have issues with people not haven't installed the CorDapps properly, maybe. Perhaps it would have been good to just show them how to do that at the beginning. Yeah.
Okay, so I understand that now we're a bit stuck because some of the nodes are not running properly. So we cannot remove, and that's how the joy of decentralization. We cannot, from the console itself, we cannot actually kill any nodes. Once you're in, there is no power for us to exclude any of the nodes, right? But nodes could exclude themselves. if you have the suspicion that your node is not running properly, can we please ask you to shut it and see whether we can progress? If not, then we will just
just to check which one is running. I think there are very few nodes here. Let's just try and run some flows between two nodes. Just issue some cache to try and see. Rather than USD, just issue say GBPs.
Okay.
Not this one. Not this one. Hold on. Not this one. Not this one. Not this one.
Okay.
I'll give you.
Oh, where's the chat? Okay.
Okay, you have the Node Explorer, right? So let's just use that.
Yeah, I have the Node Explorer.
Yeah, let's just use that. And select type new transaction. Yeah. Go to cache issue flow.
Okay.
Amount. Okay. Yeah. Say amount 100 GB, 10 GBP, space GBP. Yeah, and then that's it. Just give any name of the party.
Okay, let's try this one.
Yeah, just give a issuer bank ref. You need a party. Give your own name maybe.
Go constructor one.
Does that map to a party?
No. Do you want the legal name here?
Yeah.
Okay. No quotes, just full legal name. Okay.
Yeah.
Not on the whitelist.
No. What is that? Transaction is.
It's not on the network parameter whitelist.
From some deep, as far as I know, one cannot issue cash to themselves.
Are you showing it to yourself?
No, I'm putting. Really? Yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna issue to someone else. Yeah. Sorry. No.
Good catch, Sandeep.
Yeah, good catch. Same thing anyway.
Some other issue. It says not in the network parameter list.
Still nothing.
Yeah, let's close this and let's can we close the
Ashutosh and okay. I just ran that run vault thing. I'm getting states is equals to 0. Let me just tell you that. States blank array, states metadata blank array, total states available -1.
So none of them have actually received anything.
Yeah, I think when my contracts were not there, so when you release the amount, it shouldn't have gone to the contract. So maybe you could just release it for me.
Okay, so while we're troubleshooting, I think I'm getting a few suggestions on getting the quiz up and running. So let me share the link to the quiz. I will keep it open for a few hours. We can agree for about an hour and a half.
Can you do one? Can you give me the credentials of your node for RPC credentials where I can connect using the Node Explorer?
Ashit, are you talking to me?
Okay.
Oh.
My node?
Yeah. Just ping me privately and I can only connect.
Okay. Let me do that. It's in there.
Alfie is mentioning I need some amount to be transferred.
Let me try and do the cache distribution again.
Sorry, just checking. What if some participants did not install the CorDapp? What happens then?
Well, I don't think there should be a problem with that. They wouldn't be, like for example, Alfie, right? Alfie wasn't able to interact with the CorDapp, but I'm not sure, but I don't think that there should be a problem with the writing the workflows.
Yeah, I'm able to.
Like, yeah, Ashutosh, would you like to weigh in on that? If all the nodes are running, because we're distributing the, for example, we are broadcasting the cash transaction to all participants by default, and if some of the participants do not have the finance CorDapp.
Yeah, it would fail at their end, but that should not create any issue.
Yeah. So good suggestion, Satish, but I don't think that could be the problem.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. What's the username and the password?
I think I said them all privately to you in chat.
Okay.
Can you check your?
Yeah, got it.
Gosh, Ashutosh and Anik, this feels like a cliffhanger. I really want to see what is going on.
Well, what I can say is I would really advise everyone to experiment on your own once this workshop is done. Well, number one, if you're not again terribly familiar with Corda, you'll have to, when you're doing the quiz, if you're going to do that, you'll need to dig through a lot of documentation. So hopefully it's going to be very useful. And once you're done with that, you'd be really wanting to go practical with all of that, and just use Ashutosh's, for example, CorDapp, or just go if you want to just. If you have no idea how to do anything and you want to go from zero to fully deployed CorDapp and the web app, working with the web app, just use Chainstack documentation. There is a tutorial that does exactly that. And it just walks you by hand, sort of. Just go to tutorials in Corda and you'll be able to build your own application. You can change the code and do stuff in there. And it's very fun, and it even has some rudimentary UI and the server and the backend and the front end and everything.
Yeah, and I really like that we had so many questions and a lot of initiative of trying to troubleshoot and resolve it. And they say that you really learn more from your mistakes than from a perfect score or something that happens perfectly in front of you, right? And I think that that's exactly what is happening today, where we are seeing so many things that needs to be working under the hood for this to actually be happening in a smooth way. And maybe there's just a suggestion, we could do a follow-up bootcamp where we're trying to either do it again or we try to do it and resolve it as a short video that we're going to post over the coming few days for the rest of the community to come and share as a resolution. Because I do feel that this is a cliffhanger and we may not have a resolution as the time is getting a little bit short now, right? What do you think, Ashutosh and Aik, what's your assessment?
Well, I do I do always advise the people to do stuff on their own, which I think well, at least to me, is the best way to explore. And you have Chainstack for that, and you have like DigitalOcean for other things, and just, you know, get lost in there, or just follow the documentation, the instructions, and it's super easy to spin up an instance with Chainstack, and just fail as many times as you want in there and with your code, and then you get to run CorDapp, and it's going to be much more fun than trying to do that with, you know, when there is deadline and there is a lot of people watching you. Just get lost in there. And Corda is a really fun blockchain project. I don't think fun is the word to describe Corda, as in it's a lot heavier and it's like super serious and it's pretty cool, but it's fun too. It's really fun to develop in there. So I advise everyone to do that.
Definitely. And probably you guys all have seen that, you know, playing around with Chainstack as a console, it's pretty easy. You can just, you know, open an account with just a few clicks. You can deploy a node. You can run a CorDapp, whether that's a customized Corda, adventurous customized CorDapp like we tried to use today or not. That's a different matter, but it's relatively fast and easy to just get it done and sorted with Chainstack. Awesome. So I think we have 5 minutes on our official time. If we want to make it a little bit longer, potentially we can, but I don't think for too much. And I think we're not going to resolve it very quickly. I think we got stuck with the network, and that happens. It happened before, and that's absolutely fine. It's part of the course for this, you know, cutting edge experimenting live. But that's also what makes it valuable. At least that's at Chainstack, that's what we believe, right? It's always about pushing the boundaries and trying to find something new. And I think a big thank you to Ashutosh. It's been great to have your support. I know that you put a lot of effort into the customization of the CorDapp for us. Thank you to Edgar's and everyone within the Corda team to help us, you know, round up so many of the Corda community, existing community. We want to continue this as an ongoing commitment for Chainstack to provide valuable opportunities for the Corda community to come and experiment and test the boundaries of what can be achieved with Corda. I suggest that as a follow-up, first of all, we do want to make this donation. So let's try and make it happen. So maybe we can do a follow-up video with the troubleshooting, the post-mortem of what happened today. And maybe a few weeks down the line, we can either test it again and do a second run, or we can post a video with the full, you know, end-to-end resolution. As for everyone who opened an account with Chainstack, please feel free to keep it and experiment with it. Just as a reminder that you've now signed up for a 14 days trial on a developer account. This will be free for both subscriptions and usage, but just for 14 days. After the 14 days, if you have nodes running, the usage cost will start to kick in. So please be mindful of that. Of course, we want you to stay, to play with the console, to reach out to our engineering team and get more ideas on what you can develop and deploy. I know there have been also some communications from some students here. This is the perfect tool also for you to try and learn more about Corda. I'm going to just
ask one question on that account.
Yeah, sure.
So if, say, for example, I run it for a week and then I pause it, do I get charged for that week? And, you know, when I restart after maybe a week of, you know, pausing the nodes, I get charged, you know, on running, or it's for the whole month of billing?
No, you can stop and resume the usage as and when you're using the actual node. There is no like fixed monthly cost for the usage.
Okay.
For the month, yeah, exactly, right. So let me just, you know, as a farewell and close off of this workshop, a big thank you to Eugene, Ashutosh, and Aik for the hard work that went into preparing this and into delivering. I hope it's been a constructive experience. I hope that we have seen the engineering at its best with the bumps in the road that sometimes happen when we do live, and we try to experiment with new tools and new CorDapps. I've shared with you the links to the quiz. I will keep it open for 2 hours, so take your time at your leisure. After these 2 hours, I believe it's going to be Monday now. I will send out the certificates of achievement on an individual level. If you want to share your experience, if you want to join in the communities of both Chainstack and Corda, these are all the links to make this happen. I can personally say that the Slack CordaNet channel is absolutely amazing. You get a lot of support and a fast response and support team from Ashutosh and the rest of the team there. Same is with the training.corda.net. There is plenty of valuable material. As far as Chainstack goes, do check on our website. We have an entire sections for documentations. We do have a Git lobby that's simply Chainstack, where you can go and discuss with other engineers what is going on your side while you're using Chainstack, but also on anything that goes on your end. The video will be available from Monday on our YouTube channel. We will also be sending a follow-up email to everyone with the PowerPoint slides that you have requested, and with more material about the actual coding side that has happened today. Yes, so thank you everyone. I hope it's been a good experience. I definitely have learned and enjoyed being with all of you together in these 2 hours. And yeah, it's a wrap up for us. And thank you very much, everyone. And I hope to see you soon on the next events. Thank you, Eugene. Thank you, Ashutosh and Aik.
Thank you, Alex. And thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.